Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Ag Forecast, brought to you by Agrible, your premier platform for real-time global insights. Well, what we're going to cover in this video is kind of listed there for you in the upper left-hand corner. We are most certainly going to be talking about Michael and where Michael is going and the continued flood threat here across the southeast. We will then also turn our attention to kind of taking a look at the recent big low-pressure system that went through, bringing some snow and some much colder air to the plains and into the Corn Belt. We'll also talk about how as that trough, this big deep trough that's been over the central part of the United States, swings to the east, what it means in terms of a frost and freeze threat for the eastern part of the Corn Belt. And then also in this video, we're going to take a little bit of a longer term look. We're going to look at the end here about what we're expecting for November, and also take a look out for South America, getting us all the way through January with our latest long range updates. But bigger picture here that I want you to think about, after that system went through on Wednesday, we do see over the next 10 days or so drier than average conditions for a lot of the Corn Belt. But if you are in the southern Corn Belt, getting down here into parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, we have multiple systems. For example, Sergio's coming in. We have two systems coming in the next 6 or 7 days here, and I'm watching out for some snow in eastern Colorado getting over into parts of Kansas after the weekend. And again, talking about those temperatures, well, we're going to break down this pattern and allow that much colder air that's been sitting in the northern plains to finally invade, getting down here into the southeast. So this is your next 5 days forecast in the top right, and days 5 through 10 showing you how that cooler air is really going to be occupying much of the United States. But I do want to talk about the warmer air you see coming right back into Western Canada too in this video. So those are the major features we're going to cover. Let's start off first by looking at what happened on Wednesday. Wednesday was just incredible. We had a powerful hurricane, one of the most powerful to hit the Florida coast ever, with Michael. 155 mile an hour sustained winds. That is just under the threshold for Category 5 strength winds. In addition to that, this massive low-pressure system spinning right here through the Great Plains and through the Corn Belt with much drier air coming in on the back side of it here. Well, this one did it all as well. We had a lot of strong thunderstorms that were along the leading edge and big-time snows on the back side. So this was a very busy day, crazy day for us to be watching the weather. Let's dig into some of the details here. Now, I want to show you a snapshot of a radar image that we captured just as Michael was making landfall. So here is Michael's eye, and it was about to pass over Tyndall Air Force Base, which is right here. So this image shows you the intensity of the precipitation. But the Doppler capabilities we have with our radar network can give us images like this. So when you look at this, what we're looking at here is Doppler indicated winds. So when you see the green colors and the blue colors, that represents winds being blown toward the radar, and those reds getting into kind of these pink colors, that represents winds blowing away from the radar. Now, the circulation of this hurricane is in a counterclockwise direction, and what do we see right here? We see wind speeds, not at the surface, but above the surface a couple thousand feet, that were 176 miles per hour as measured by the radar. This was a powerful system. And if you've never experienced it, well, check out this video here. This is one of the videos that went viral in the day on Wednesday, just showing you the power of those winds. And this, of course, in Panama City, Florida. Now, as the International Space Station flew over Michael, we got a beautiful glimpse straight down into the eye. So you can see the stadium effect of the clouds here all the way down to the clear ocean surface right in through here. This is a spectacular image. And if you've never been in the eye of a hurricane, which I have not, thankfully, I want to show you one of the other videos that went viral that day. This kid went outside and took a video just as the eye of Michael passed over. And what are you seeing here? That is the incredibly tall cloud edge of the eye wall. Look, there's the sun shining. And this video was just a spectacular view of what it was like to be in the eye of a hurricane like this. But as the other eye wall passed over, this area was again put through just the ringer with incredibly strong winds. So this was Michael, and as Michael came through, it did a lot of damage and destruction. But I want to show you what it did in terms of precipitation, because we're talking about some heavy rain down here in the Cotton Belt and in the Peanut Belt. And what do we see? We see some locations here as of around 1:20 in the morning on Thursday that had already seen better than 6, some places over 10 inches. Now look at this. Not from a hurricane. In parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri, even parts of Iowa, we saw between 3 and 8 inches of rainfall there as well. So this was from that big stationary battery that was parked right in through this area, and so we're talking about flooding across a major part of the United States. Now, in addition to that, on the backside of this, we had some snow. This map was valid around 7 p.m. on the 9th of October. So what do we see here? Well, this was some heavy snows in through this area. But what this map doesn't show you was all the snow that fell over here. In fact, I'm going to take you really quickly here right to a location. This is Valley City in parts of North Dakota. This is Brandon put out this image on Twitter today showing that in one location, almost 10 inches of snow. So as this big low pressure system went spinning up like this, the backside of it brought snow all the way through the Dakotas, getting there over into parts of Minnesota as well. So this was just a crazy midweek storm system that we were watching here. Now, the change is coming. This is what the first 9 days of the month of October look like in terms of temperature anomalies. This is the battleground we've been talking about. That's where that boundary has been that brought all the flooding rains to parts of Kansas, Iowa, parts of northern Illinois, Wisconsin, Nebraska, Minnesota. On the back side, bitterly cold air, and on the south side, all the warmth. I mean, it has felt like summer inside of this area. Well, it is changing, and we got to diagnose that pattern first. So when we look at this, this is what the threats are going to be for in the morning on the 11th. We have frost and freeze warnings for the middle part of the country. Of course, the flood warnings down here in the southeast. We're still dealing with the winter storm advisories up here in parts of Minnesota, and come over here into parts of kind of the Columbia River Basin. We've got some hard freeze warnings there as well. Now, this is what the change is going to look like. We have to diagnose the upper level pattern first. What I want you to watch carefully with me is the positions of these troughs. So let's step this back and show you what's going to happen in the day on Thursday and Friday. You will see multiple lobes of a trough coming through the northern plains. I'm kind of rocking you back and forth on Friday and Saturday. And as we get to this one, this is going to bring in a big batch of colder air and the chance for more precipitation down here in parts of Colorado, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. And as that one comes through, that is where we're really going to sweep in the colder air on off to the east. Now, as I continue to animate this forward, this is what we see from the European ensemble. Getting into next week, getting into the middle and into the end of October, we are seeing the pattern adjust itself, maybe such that we get a deeper trough sitting here in the Gulf of Alaska, with a ridge over western Canada in the west United States, and then a trough over the east. Now, what does a pattern like this signify? Well, a pattern like that tends to bring, sustained cooler weather over the eastern third of the country, and potentially back toward more normal temperatures or even slightly above average temperatures here for the western United States. And that's a pattern that we certainly have to be talking about. Now, before we get to that longer term, take a look at what the early morning temperatures are going to look like on Thursday. So on Thursday, here's where we bring in our much cooler than average weather. That's why we have the frost and freeze threat in this region. Look at Friday early morning. This will be the first chance to getting some freezing temperatures here in parts of northern Illinois, a big section of Iowa and southern Wisconsin. So we're going to see some first frost in that area. Then Saturday, things kind of retreat a little bit back to the north, but that's because we're reloading another trough here that's going to come swinging through by the time we get into Sunday. There it is on Sunday and Monday. So you can now see that much, much deeper trough. This is the second one coming through, and that's what's going to bring the frost threat all the way into the panhandle of Oklahoma and Texas. And this again is going to sweep through this area, keeping temperatures in the eastern Corn Belt here cool as well as we get through early next week. So big pattern flip, and those are the cooler temperatures coming. To show it to you all in aggregate, this is a 5-day sliding window of temperature anomalies. So we're just looking at the overall pattern through the next 15 days. So this will take us all the way out to October 25th. And what do we see? We see the eastern half of the country sliding into some cooler than average weather. Same with the southern states. But by the time we get toward that 4th week of October, we saw in the jet stream flow a ridge building out west with the trough here. And so you can see the warmer conditions returning to this part of the country. We got to discuss that to see if that's really going to happen that way. To show you what to look out for cold winters or warm winters, this is the flow pattern. On the left, I went back and grabbed the coldest Novembers for the primary Corn Belt, and on the right, the warmest. What do we need to watch? You need to watch north of Hawaii. You see, our pattern will be established out here in the Pacific. And if we develop a trough that will sit south of the Aleutian Islands, north of Hawaii, that tends to produce a ridge out west and a deeper trough over the east, giving the Corn Belt a cold November. Now, if we do the opposite of that, see if we put a big ridge here north of Hawaii, south of the Aleutian Islands, we tend to get a trough in the Gulf of Alaska and a broader ridge over the eastern part of the country, eastern half of the country. So when I talk to you in each one of these videos, we want to watch together what's going on in the Central Pacific Ocean north of Hawaii. That's where our pattern is going to be established. All right, that was a lot about temperature. Let's now turn our attention to precipitation. I'm animating out for you here the next 60 hours. So this gets us to around 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. Flooding rains from Michael moving up into parts of the Carolinas and eventually into Virginia. What we see, though, is that much of the Corn Belt is going to be dry over the next 3 days, except for this region in here in the Central Plains. We have that trough swinging through here, and that could give us the potential for some widely scattered showers into parts of Kansas and Oklahoma, a place where they don't want any more rain now. And we also see that we'll be watching toward the end of the week and weekend Sergio finally making its way into parts of Texas here. So that's our short-term, high-resolution view of the precipitation patterns. Let's now take a look at what the European model is picking up on, taking us out for the next 10 days or so. So if we kind of animate this forward, let me step back here. You see Michael exiting finally the East Coast. And by the time Michael's leaving, looks like early Friday morning, into the day on Friday. Look at the Central Plains there. That's our next chance at bringing in some widely scattered showers into that area. Now, notice Sergio comes into the Baja there on Friday midday and makes its way over to Texas by the time we get into Saturday. So that's going to bring in some more rain into already saturated fields in Texas, Oklahoma. Beyond this, what I want to play for you is what I see happening on Sunday into Monday. See that right there? The next system coming in on that shortwave trough kind of rounding the base of the broader trough possibly brings in the chances for snow here into parts of Kansas and in eastern Colorado, and maybe even cold enough for some snow in the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas. Now, if you're north of this and east of this whole region, the Corn Belt into here stays relatively dry, getting us through the next week. But I'm sorry, Kansas, you have taken a beating this entire growing season. Hot and dry early, hot and dry through much of the growing season, and then flooding rains, cold weather, and now snow at the end. And it's the same thing for parts of Missouri as well. So it may not be until Monday where we start to see the chances of precipitation moving into the eastern Corn Belt here. But overall, if I kind of show you what it looks like, well, here's our snowfall forecast. Again, this is a Saturday night through Sunday night feature in through here. Don't really look at this map for the total amounts. I'm just saying there's the chance right into here for some snow showers, much, much bigger snows here in the higher country in Colorado. And all of this that you see up here, by the way, is the current system that is exiting in the day on Thursday. So we're going to watch that area there in Kansas and eastern Colorado for some snow, maybe even southern Nebraska as well. Put it all together, back to that first map. You see the overall drier pattern here in the northern plains stretching through the Corn Belt. We've got Michael, we've got Sergio, we have the two systems coming through here over the next week or so. So that's kind of the breakdown of the overall flow pattern, at least in the eastern 2/3 of the country. Okay, let's quickly turn our attention to South America. We do see this over the next 15 days. We see that the eastern growing regions are favoring a wetter than average pattern, as are the southern growing regions in Brazil. We see near average precipitation in Mato Grosso. When you look down here at the overall drier pattern in Argentina, there are actually two systems in the next 10 days that do slide through there. So it's not as though there's no rain at all, but certainly it's not going to be as wet as it normally would be for this time of year. I still don't see major stresses coming out of South America at this point. But what I want to finish with here is a much longer term look. We just got a couple of days ago a new update from our National Multi-Model Ensemble, and what I'm showing you here is precipitation anomalies from November through January. And we're looking here at where we're looking at drier than average and wetter than average conditions. Now, remember what we're watching. We're watching for the development of what we call a Mordecai El Nino. That's where in this area that I'm coloring here, we're going to be seeing warmer than average sea surface temperatures, where to the south of it, cooler than average sea surface temperatures. Now, historically, when it sets up like that, we tend to bring in drier conditions through Brazil's northern growing regions and wetter conditions down here in Argentina and southern Brazil. That will be the pattern I will be watching carefully, because we know Brazil has big potential on having a massive crop this year. But if this El Nino is one of the dominant factors, there could be some drier risks in Brazil's northern growing regions as we move forward. Certainly nothing right now starting them off with any sort of adversity, but I'll be paying close attention to it each week, and I'll keep you updated on what I'm seeing down there coming out of South America. So we hope you look forward to that ag forecast coming out early Monday morning. In the meantime, head to agrible.com to learn how you can get real-time agronomic and sustainability insights all at the touch of a button.